welcome back to the FreeFormKnits Youtube channel. I'm Haxann Evers, and Knit and Crochet is freeform ways of crafting lots of to design. All the places you can find me are listed right down below this video. This is the first video in a new series of videos I'm going to be doing, which are basically just Scrappy project updates. I'm planning to do one every month because I'm kind of obsessed with Scrappy projects at the moment. In the past, I've never really liked the idea of Scrappy projects. Not that I didn't like the idea, but more like I just got overwhelmed with the idea of, you know, letting the colors do what they wanted to do, not having enough to make it perfect. I don't know, it just built up all these excuses in my head why I didn't like Scrappy projects. But now that I'm finally making Scrappy projects, I'm obsessed with it, and I wanted to share the projects I'm making with my scraps and hopefully inspire you if you are like me and have a bunch of scraps laying around. I've been a knit and crocheter for upwards of 10 years, and I've always done things with my scraps, but always little things, you know, never big full-on Scrappy projects. So I thought I'd share some of the Scrappy projects with you that I've been doing for this month of March. So first up, let's start with, we'll talk about this pair of Scrappy socks. I've actually shared this sock in my most recent podcast episode at the time of filming this. So this is my first Scrappy sock ever. The reason it's my first Scrappy sock ever is because the problem with Scrappy socks for me is that I kind of just was afraid of them not them not being 100% matching, but just changing colors and having all those ends to weave in. But I'm using in this sock, this is just a plain vanilla sock using my shortcut heel sock recipe. It's my go-to sock pattern. It has my shortcut heel. I did the stockinette version. You can also do it in garter, and I substituted my hat trick toe. So how I'm doing this sock, I'm approaching it to not have so many ends, is I'm doing Hay Brownberry's method of weaving in ends. And if you've knit color work, then you know the importance of, when you have long strands of color work, when you're working with one color, having floats and tacking down those floats so that your fingers don't get stuck in the color work and pull. That's kind of the theory behind this method. And all you do is you start your next color, you tack it down with the old color, and then you tack down the new tail with the old tail with the new color. And you just kind of weave it into the work while you're changing it, and it's really secure. I'm surprised at how secure it is. When you're knitting it, when you first change the color, like, you don't have those loosey stitches at your beginning of round, like when you usually change color. You just tighten them up, and because this sock has wool content, it's going to be really great. I can just trim these edges and it'll be fine. Like, I'm not worried about it at all. So that's made Scrappy socks 100% easier in my mind. So I've been really enjoying this sock, and I'm working on the second one. I'm still on the first color. It's just nice to have a vanilla sock on the go again. It's harder for me to get access to fingering weight yarns than it is other yarns, especially sock weight fingering yarns, like ones made for socks, the right blend of, you know, wool and nylon. So I often don't make vanilla socks, because when I do get sock in, I like to make a pattern sock. So it's really nice to just have these scraps to make a vanilla sock and revisit the colors. These are my colors. Most of them are Knit Pictorial Tonal, but this one is Knit Pictorial Glimmer. This one's Knit Pictorial Tweed. And it's just super pretty, and I'm really obsessed with it. Also, what held me up from knitting Scrappy socks is how much you really don't need as much yarn as I think you do. So I just weighed this sock. This whole sock weighs 30 grams. So that means that each of these panels of color take up less than 5 grams of yarn, which is pretty amazing. So I haven't weighed it exactly, but knowing that, like, this is 21 rounds of a color, so that's less than 5 grams is good to know, just in my head, so that I can more accurately judge how much yarn things take. I'm really bad at that, of estimating how much yarn it takes. I always overestimate and then worry about not having enough, which is silly. But this is my Scrappy sock. I love it so much. I need to weave in like the beginning ends and just trim up the inside and work on the second one. So I knit all my socks on a US 2 2.75, right? I always forget. I know it's a bigger size than most people use. Yeah, the US 2 2.75 millimeter. And my favorite sock knitters are Chabu Red Lace. Super nice. And they just fly. I use the 40-inch cord because I find well, maybe for socks the 32-inch cord would be fine, but usually I find the 40-inch cord to be my favorite cord length for Magic Loop because it's not too small. I don't find it too big. So yeah, and I just have it in this little bag with all the scraps so that whenever I want to knit, I have everything I need. My other two Scrappy projects are crochet projects. One is made out of bulky weight and one is being made out of worsted weight and DK. So I'm going to first start with the bulky weight because I had a basket of this size filled with bulky weight scraps. They weren't my bulky weight scraps, most of them, but they were just, I didn't even know what to do with bulky yarn, to be honest. I don't like knitting with it too much, to be honest. I don't know, I personally don't really like super heavy things just to wear. I find them too heavy and uncomfortable. So I wasn't really sure what to do with them. So one of my favorite things to do when I have a bunch of yarn that's kind of similar, but I don't know what to do with, is to just crochet it up all together and call it a day. So that's basically what I've done here. I crocheted this shawl, this bulky shawl. It's still attached. I've got this tiniest bit. It's not enough to do around a row on this shawl, so I just have to cut this. This is all I have left. This is an asymmetrical shawl. This is actually one of the shawl shapes in my four crochet constructions, 4 shawl. I can't even remember the title of my own patterns. Basically, I have a PDF pattern available in my Ravelry Shop and actually free tutorials here on YouTube on how to crochet 4 different shawl shapes. This is the asymmetrical shawl shape. And it's super nice. I originally wanted to make it tip to tip, but I didn't have enough to make it a good size. So just asymmetrical. All of these are bulky weight. Actually, these greens, this one, and this one, they're actually worsted weight held double because I started a project with them, which I was doing worsted weight held double and frogged it. And if you've ever held something double and then frogged it, you know you can't separate it without a huge mess. So I just counted them as bulky weight and put them in the shawl. I don't remember the brands. I know these are I Love This Yarn. I don't know the names of the other ones, but I just crocheted this up using a mystery hook. If you've been following my channel, then you know that one of my hook sizes is wrong, just based off of the other hooks I have. So it says it's a K. It's not a K. It's probably an L or an M. I don't know, but it was the biggest hook I had. So I just crocheted this up, and when I came to the end of one color, I just magic knotted the new color and kept going. So I only have 2 ends to weave in and a few other, I think, ends to trim. Like here, you can just tidy it up a little and just have this nice stripy shawl. And how I played with the colors, which is another thing that held me up from doing Scrappy projects, is color management. Because while you want a Scrappy project to be scrappy, you also don't want like too many colors close together. You don't want two colors that you find particularly not good together. So it does take a little bit of color management, and I kind of find like constant color management. Like you just have to be aware of these things, and that can be a bit of like, if you just want to sit down and work on something, you don't want to be thinking about colors. But how I planned it for this shawl is I did the lightest gray and then the darkest green. And then I went to a darker gray and then a lighter green. And I'm really happy with how that played out. I think it's really, really good. And then I did end with this tan because I had 2 balls of it, one a little bit less. So I just did a row of single crochet to end it, because I didn't actually started the row of double crochet to end it and had like this much left and didn't make it. So I only just frogged it back and did single crochet. So I'm really happy with that, and it's really nice. It's warm. It's a good weight, I find, just with the gauge. So you can just throw it over your shoulders one evening. I think if I were to block it, I could stretch it a little bit more. Actually, I really like this. I really like it. I'm surprised. I usually don't consider myself a green person, but I don't know, it kind of goes with my shirt. I don't know. I find asymmetrical shawls, they have to be just the right size to wear them this way. Yeah, this is too bulky for me, but it does fit. It's really nice. I really like it. This is too bulky for me. Like, I would never wear a shawl like that of this weight. I can't have things around my neck. It just drives me crazy. But it's super nice and I love it. It looks really good in the camera. I think I'm just gonna hold it up and look at it like this. Look at that. It's so nice. I really love it. Yeah, this is just one of the shawl shapes of my 4 crochet shawl constructions. That's the title, the asymmetrical shape. Also in that collection, there's the top-down triangle, tip-to-tip, and crescent, which crescent shawl is my favorite. A crochet crescent shawl is so nice, and I actually have yarn set aside that's also kind of scrappy. Yeah, I think I'll actually show that in a minute. And I really want to make a crescent shawl with it, so yep. That's another scrappy project, and it's really satisfying to get this yarn out of my stash instead of just sitting at it wondering what its purpose is. I'm kind of a weird balance between, I like having a stash. I've learned the hard way that I need to have a stash of yarn at hand, but I also don't like having yarn sitting around that doesn't have a purpose, like that I can't envision what I'll use it for. The bulky weight yarn, like I said, I'm not a big fan of it. Not that I'm not a big fan of it. Every now and then I do love working with bulky weights. It's just like I personally don't like having things in bulky weight yarn because I wouldn't wear them, and I'm not sure people around me who would like them. So it's just nice to work it up and have it out of my stash, and now it has a purpose, you know? Like, I would throw that over my shoulders. It's a warm shawl, you can easily take on and off. So yeah. The other current scrappy work in progress I have, I'm so excited about. So if you've been following my channel, I recently learned how to do the corner to corner crochet method of a blanket, and it's my favorite thing ever, and I'm wondering why I did not learn it sooner. I put it off for so long, and I actually recently have a video up on my channel all about my first corner to corner crochet blanket, and I'll have that linked. But it made me want to make a full-on scrappy blanket because that one's kind of more cohesive, more planned out. This one is going to be completely scrappy. And are you ready for this? I'm just going to show it. It's so pretty. I love it. Show you the pretty side. Look at it. Oh, it's so good. The cameras actually make you look a little bit darker. Kind of a rainy, snowy day outside, so the light's a bit weird. But you can kind of see it's just amazing. So how I'm doing this, you can kind of see that there's this strand of gray throughout all the colors. So how I'm doing this is I have a bunch of this gray DK in my stash from a failed sweater project, and I'm just holding a strand of this DK with any worsted scrap I have, and it's got to be a little worsted scrap. So I have this jar. It used to be over the top filled. It's now only halfway, of these little balls of worsted, some of them ranging from maybe as much as 25 grams to just like 3 grams. I don't care. I just grab it and I magic knot it into the blanket so there are no ends. Like I have, you can kind of see, I'm too lazy to grab my scissors and cut the magic knot, like to trim it. So I just have these ends hanging out, and I'll either tuck them in or just cut them straight off. And I just start crocheting. Sometimes I make it a full row across. Sometimes I only make it, where's the spot? I made it like here. I made it this very light gray. I made it halfway and then like 8 stitches total, and just on this one side of the blanket. I don't care. It's a perfectly scrappy blanket. It's going to do what it wants. And as it gets wider, it's going to get even less across. Like this one, this stripe I'm on, like I started it here, and then I had 2 rows here, and now I'm just going across and I ran out. So, and oh look, here it is, this little stripe of green right in the middle. I don't care. It's a perfectly scrappy blanket, and I'm just letting it be scrappy. So I have this basket that it's going to quickly outgrow, this blanket, that I have my main color, this gray. And what I do is to play color management with this. I will pick 10 balls of yarn in here, and I will just pick the one that I want to go next to the color I just did, and I take it one at a time. I pick 10 that don't match completely. So like for this next round, I'll take like this gray and this purple and this red. Like these all are pretty different. And then in the blanket, I'll just pick the one that looks different enough from the color I just used. And then when I'm done with that color, I'll pick the next color different enough from the one I just used. And that kind of breaks it down so I'm not overwhelmed by which color goes where. And I'm just really in love with it. I'm in love with how it looks. Like, I think I should insert some pictures because, like I said, the lighting's not doing it justice. But I love it so much. And it's so much fun to work on. And the hook I'm using is a K 10.5 6.5mm hook. It's just a boy hook. I prefer my hooks to have a handle, but this is the only K hook I have, so I've been dealing with it. Yeah, it's not that I prefer to have a handle, but once I start using it without the handle, it is fine. It's always just that changing between hooks, you know, like if you have a hook with a handle and you don't have a hook with a handle, it takes a bit of adjustment, but it's okay. I do want to look, maybe I'll just get a separate handle for it. I know you can get one of those, so I'll try that. Really great. I just love it so much. It's so much fun to work on. And another thing, I keep kind of randomly mentioning, the thing that kept me up with Scrappy projects is that I'm not a crafter who leaves their projects lingering. Like if I start a project, I'm either gonna finish it eventually or I'm gonna frog it. Like it can't be a long-term whip. I don't think I have one long-term whip that I have every intention of finishing. But if I didn't have any intention of finishing it, or like I would frog it. I don't think that's making any sense. I just don't like having like a pile of long-term webs. I don't do that, and that's kind of held me up on especially something like a blanket. That's why all my blankets are kind of on the smaller side. But this, I'm loving it. I'm gonna, every time I get a scrap that's of this size, I'll just put it in this jar and then work on it. And the great thing about crochet blankets is that you can use it as a blanket as you work on it. So it's not like with a knitted blanket, like you'd have all the stitches on the needle and you couldn't really cozy up under it ever, even when it was on pause. So yeah, that's that Scrappy blanket. So to round off this March Scrappy project video, I thought I'd talk about my plans for more Scrappy projects. So obviously I want to finish this sock. I hope to have this done very soon, and so you'll see that in the next of this series of videos. But then also I talked about I wanted to make a crescent shawl because I have this whole bag of yarn that I'm counting as scraps. It's not really my scraps, like these are scraps my sister gave to me. She's also a knitter. She didn't want them anymore, so she just handed them off to me, and I'm gonna make a shawl out of them. And these scraps are kind of cool. They're like these marled yarns. I don't know the brand, some brand from Hobby Lobby, I'm sure. They're like these marled yarns, these stripy, and she's got these two lighter ones, these two black, and then a bunch of little skeins of black. I don't know why she has so many of these little skeins. I'm guessing she broke down a big skein for something. So I'm gonna combine all these, and it's quite a bit of them actually. Like I want to take them out of the bag, but I also don't want them to roll away. This whole bag of yarn, and I'm gonna make a crochet crescent. So I think how I'm gonna do it, I'm actually a little bit torn if I want to start with the black tweed, because I think I have less of the black tweed than of any other color. I think I'll start with the black tweed, and then the center will be this color, and then I'll end it with the black because I have the most of that and just can get as big as it goes. I think that'll show off the colors best. So that's my plan. I'm torn if I want to do a pattern. I might just do double crochet. I've been really loving simple projects like that. Just a nice sea of double crochet. I'm torn. Maybe I'll find a stitch pattern I like. And oh, maybe I could do this center panel, as much as this yarn goes, in a texture pattern. That might be pretty. That might be the plan. So I'll work on that. I'll probably end up using a 5.5mm hook because it's worsted weight and I want it to be a little bit on the drapier side. That's my plan. I'll knit that sock, I'll crochet that shawl. I don't think there's any other scrappy projects that are immediately calling to me. I'll probably work more on my scrappy blanket. That would be great. Yeah. And to end this video, I did mean to start the video like this, but to end it, I will talk about, I made a video about scrappy projects last year sometime. I don't remember. Maybe exactly last year. I don't know. I don't know dates anymore. About scrappy projects, specifically my cozy memory blanket. I had a big plan in that video. I talked about doing 1 square a week so that I would round it off and I would call it done. That did not happen. I did a few more squares. This is the last thing that held me up from doing scrappy projects, is that I did not want to work on this blanket. I love this blanket. I love the idea of the cozy memory blanket. I love how it looks. It's gorgeous. Let's just be honest here. It's beautiful. I love it. I love the feel of the blanket. Like, it's such a good weight, just fingering weight. But I think, to put it as simple as possible, it's too slow for me. It's too slow. It's like, by the time it takes me about less than an hour to do a square, but when I'm done with that square, I'm like, I don't want to do another one. I'm done. And I just wasn't enjoying the process. Though I would love a finished object, I'm not enjoying the process. So as you can see, I have one corner left here. I'm eventually, I don't know when, this is how much I don't like doing these squares. I'm eventually going to knit one more square, and then it's just going to be like a wall hanging, which I think will be pretty, and it'll be a reminder to me that you don't like doing knitted scrappy projects as much as you do crochet. Not that I don't like doing knitted scrappy projects, but fingering weight blanket, that's not for me. That's not for me, and that's okay, because I'm making other heavier blankets, and I like big blankets anyway. So just thought if you've watched that video, then this is the update. It's not sad, it's me accepting how I like to craft, and that's fine. But it is pretty, and it's got some, like, I remember all these yarns and lots of Felici on this side, those self-striping ones. These are all knit pictorial tonal. These two I've actually just used in the socks. It's really pretty. It's just not for me, and that's okay. That is everything for this video. If you enjoyed, be sure to give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any future videos. If you could, comment down below something you are working on. If you're working on something scrappy, I would love to hear all about it and hear your ideas about scrappy projects, and maybe what you like about them, or maybe if you don't like scrappy projects, what you don't like about them. I would love to talk about that in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Happy crafting!